Today we're going to be making this cute honeycomb card with bee and balloon, or two bees actually. So we're going to make the white version today, but let me just introduce myself and welcome you along. So I am Della. I design stamps and card making kits. So yes, so all these designs we're making in this little series are based on the Buzzing Birthday stamp set. So this includes 23 stamps that you can reuse again and again. You just need to peel them off onto acrylic blocks to ink them and then stamp them onto cardstock, onto fabric, onto exercise books, planners, anything goes really, just the right ink, and they will stamp anywhere. So today, if you've got the craft along kit to make the kit with me, if you've purchased a card making kit from me, I'll show you what's inside those kits. Or if you've just got the stamps, in the description you'll see a handy list of things that you need to prep if you've got the stamps. So the sizes of the card blanks and the mounts on this card. So, shall we get started? So like I said, today we're going to make the white version of this card. So all my designs generally have a craft and white counterpart. So if you've got the craft version, you can still follow along with this video. Just be careful when I say pink, I mean purple, and cream and white. So some bits are interchangeable, but the instructions are the same. So let me just put that one up there so you've got a reference for that if you're making that one. So all my kits come with a picture of the design that you're making, so you've always got something to follow if you're not following the video. So the advanced kits. Let me open this up for you. So this design it's a smaller design, so it's 5 by 5 inch, and my 5 by 5 inch designs all come in a box kit like this, and it has enough in here to make 4 cards. We're going to make one today, so it's your choice whether you want to prep all the pieces for all 4 cards, or you want to just do one at a time. I'm going to do one today, but you're welcome to do all the cutting out for all of them. So a little picture on the back of what's included, but let's have a look inside. I think I've got the camera quite low today. I might have to move it up once we start making. So inside you'll find everything. You also have a written sheet of instructions, but I'm keen to do these videos first before I actually write the instructions, so they are not written yet, but they will be. So let me go and see a big pile of goodies. I'll start with the big bits first. Let me go this way. So you've got 4 white envelopes, all square. You've got 4 card blanks with my logo on the back. They're blank inside, so you can add your own sentiments if you want, or just write your own message inside. I'm going to start piling up bits that I need for today. Card blank. And then we've got flip this over. Then we've got the pink square mount, and for those of you with the expert kit, I have got the details in the description, but if you don't want to bother going through that, I'll just let you know it's a 4 by 4 inch square. And then the white card, so the white card's got the honeycomb design stamped on it in the Tangelo ink, and that is 3 3/4 inches. So we've got 4 of them. Then we've got a sheet of the stamped flower and the balloons. So I'm going to take that and we'll cut out one set of what we need. For the honeycomb, I've actually split them out into individual sheets, just to save on space, and feels a little slightly less overwhelming if there's not 24 hexagons on one page. But these are really quick and easy to cut out because they're just 6 straight lines, and you're done on each of them. So we'll take one of those. And what I love about this design is that you can mix and match. So you could have one card with no honeycomb on it, just with the balloon, and then you could do a card that's got loads of honeycomb, just cover like the whole side of it in honeycomb. That's what I'm quite fun about this kit. So here are some bees, some buzzing bees. So you get 8 in your kit. So you notice they're white, so we're going to be colouring those in today. And then we've got the mounts. Oh, I've ended up with 5. Oh no, I haven't ended up with 5, but this one. So that's the flower centres, the little circles. So we need one of those. And the happy birthday greetings and the mounts. So these are all pre-cut for you in the advanced kit. So you've got the exact measurements. I won't go into the measurements of these. They're in the description below. So place that and that into there. Let's not forget these. So this is the ink pad that comes with the advanced kit and the sponge dabber, which I'll be showing you how to use. I'll be using my large version of the ink. It's the same ink, just on a bigger pad. It's handy for this size if you're stamping with the bigger stamps. However, it just takes a bit more time, but you can dab with the teardrop one as well, or dewdrop one. So you can use that to actually ink your stamps as well. Wonderful. So these are new as well. So if you've got the craft version, the purple one, this is the ink pad that comes in that one. It's a cantaloupe, some sort of mustardy yellow. Very nice. So let me tuck that away now. So a nice little handy box. You can store your kits in these. These do just go on a little bit of persuasion. There you go. So you can keep. So if you want to dip in and out of your card making session, you can keep everything safe in the box, so you know you've got it all to hand. Just going to move these inks out of the way so I don't accidentally reach to use them. And let's bring this back in. So obviously we've got a few extra bits in here because we only need to cut out some of these. So let me just start by cutting out, just so we know what we've got. So we want 2 of these. We want a balloon and a flower. And 1 flower centre. And then we need all 6 of those. So we'll keep hold of those ones. Wonderful. So extra little bits you need to make this kit, so you've got them to hand. I'm going to do some cutting out now, so it will be I will be cutting out for a little while on this one. So if you need to get to hand, if you've got the advanced kit, if you've got a glass mat like this one, if failing that, if you've got any sort of ceramic like coaster or a CD case, I used to say, but it feels like that's moved on now. I don't know anyone has CD cases anymore at home. Anything that's like reflective, even like some packaging, like that's sort of like a cellophane plastic, just so it doesn't, so we can spread the ink when we're doing the sponging and inking later. And hand in hand with that is something to clean up the mess. So if you've got a wet wipe or a damp cloth that you don't mind getting stained, because it is permanent, so you can grab that. What else we need? A ruler, a pencil, and a fine liner pen as well. That's just when we're going to add the line for the balloon. Wonderful. Right, I'm going to get started. I could have done that while I was cutting out, couldn't I? So we're going to cut these out. I'm going to start with the hexagon, so they're nice and easy. So I'm aiming to cut on the outside of the black line, so removing all the yellow on the right line. With these ones, I've got a nice thick line, so if you want to, you can cut halfway through the line and just trim off. I'd aim to do a similar depth on all of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut straight down the middle of these. So I'm going to keep that straight line. when I was prepping the hexagons for the beginners kit. I had a whole sort of A4 sheet of hexagons to cut out. I was doing it in front of the TV, that's what I normally do. But I had them all lined up like this in long lines all the way along. It was actually quite quick and quite therapeutic to just cut through them. Okay, that's the first one, and just make a little pile of hexagons. So I've got the live chat up in front of me on my iPad. So if you are watching along live, please do say hello in the chat. I think what I've gathered now, I'm learning using this, is that this live chat doesn't stay once the video's been published. So if you've got any questions, do pop them in there and I will repeat them and give you the answer on the video. And then if you're watching the replay of this, if you say hello in the comments, that will stay there. And any questions you can ask in the comments and I will comment back with an answer for you. So this is if you're watching the replay, but if you're watching live, you'll know. So today's Wednesday, and we run the summer craft along through from Monday to Friday. And even though it's got a nice day today, it's quite sunny. This is the first day I haven't been crafting with the backdrop of my neighbours mowing lawns and doing DIY out there. It's actually kind of oddly quiet and still. I'm sure it won't last. Right, so I got on my number 6. Nice, right. So if you've watched my videos before, you'll know that I take quite a leisurely pace at this. I'm not trying to do any here's one I made earlier or zipping along in time lapse, so you have to pause and rewind all the time. So it's a nice peaceful pace. And this is making it from the advanced kit, and if you've got the beginner's kit, you can zoom forward to when the beginner's kit starts, which once I know when that is, when we publish the video, I'll add the timestamp in the description so you know where to jump to. Right, so this is cutting out the flower circle. Again, we're going on the outside of the black line, but it is being placed on top of another black line, so it doesn't have to be super neat. And then let's do this balloon. So if you notice when I'm cutting out, I'm keeping my scissors still and I'm rotating the card, and that gives you a lot more control, and you can wiggle in and out of the creases. So I'll just show you on this bit here. So I'll go into the corner and then grip it with the scissors, turn the card, and then start cutting out again. And I'm always cutting where I can see this clearly. There we go. And then the flower, which is a little bit more fiddly, but it's got a nice big black line. So you just concentrate on doing those curves, rolling the card back and forth, And if you get to the point where there's too much card that's sort of dragging on this bit here, that's dragging on the other blade of the scissors, then I just snip off that. It makes it a lot more easier to control. So that's another. So even if I was making all 4 cards at the same time, I would always cut the flowers off of the larger card sheet first before trying to cut them out individually. So we're aiming for the outside of the black line, but it's nice and fixed, so you've got a bit of room for error on there. And if you have got little bits of pink card showing through once you've finished, and you don't fancy going over it again with scissors, then you can just use a black marker or fine liner and just fill in those little bits. Plus, we're going to be inking it as well, so a lot of that gets disguised and lost. Anyway, I'm going to cut off that excess. Nearly there. So I normally do this while watching TV. I normally have a tray of bits and pieces that I want to cut out that I sort of store up during the day, and then when I head down to watch some TV in the evening, I'll take my tray and my scissors and I'll just curl up on the sofa. I think it's like my equivalent of crocheting or cross stitch or something like that, just something I can do mindlessly while watching or listening to the TV. Just going to neaten up a few bits that look a bit quite a sharp angle on that one, so it's going to even up a bit. There we go. And then just the bees. Actually, we're going to colour in the bees first. So if you've got the beginner's kit, they're already coloured in for you. And we're going to colour them in. I'm going to use a pro marker. So this is alcohol based, which will work well on the bees stamped in your kit because they're stamped with the dye based ink, so that it won't bleed. However, if you are using the expert kit or the stamps, do just test what ink you're using, because you can use different types of inks, which will be perfectly fine to make the card. You just need to be aware of which markers, or maybe switch to pencils, whatever you need to colour it in. But if you've got the stamp set, you have extra, so you can test out what reaction it has. So I know this won't bleed with the black, which is really important when you're colouring yellow on black. So I'm going to leave the wings white and the eye white, and just colour in around his face. I have kept within the edges there, but we are cutting him out, so it doesn't actually matter. I'm just conscious to keep his eye white. Yeah. And then if you have got your big stash of pro markers, is the canary is the one I've used. Just as a little tip, if you're unsure which pens or colours to use, grab a scrap. This is what I did just before we started today. Grab a bit of scrap, or say scrap paper. It is the card that I'm using, so it's a scrap piece from the project you're on, because different cards will react differently. So you can colour in a little swatch like that. I've got 3 different colours there, and then once it's dried a little bit and this true colour comes out, then you can match it up and go, So we went for the middle one on this one. So you want something that goes with the yellow that's on the card, doesn't stand up too much. So it's a fun way to do. So yeah, if you've got any questions, do let me know. If you're joining the live chats, you can drop your questions in there, and I can see them on the screen. So let's cut out these bees. So we're going to cut out the bee and the wings for this one. Some of the other designs I've been just stamping out the bee body and then decoupaging it on top. But this one we're going to go with the wings as well. If you have got the expert kit or you've got the stamps, you could stamp your images onto the card and then decoupage this up, or just colour in the bee on there. But I quite like this 3D effect of having the bees flying across. So I'd say also in your kits we do have the foam pads, and that gives the 3D effect on this card. So you'll have all the foam pads you need to do this. And then if you're posting the card to someone, just be aware that the thickness might affect the payment costs. So it might go over in the UK it's the large letter size. Not quite sure what it is in the US equivalent. But you can just make this card flat. Just don't use the foam pads and glue everything down onto the card blank if you want to save on that cost. Because the worst thing is sending it to someone and them getting told they've got to pay more. It's not a birthday surprise you want to give someone. There we go. If you want to, this is quite fiddly, the smallest bee. So if you wanted to, you could bubble cut around the bee, especially because it's going white on white, so it wouldn't stand out too much. So you could just cut them out in a rough, soft cut around the wings and the body. I would have shown you the example, but I've now just cut that out. A little bit of white showing there I want to get rid of. So yeah, if you've got any extra white bits, one, it's not going to show on there, or two, you could colour them in. Let me just get one of these bees, show you what I mean by the bubble cut. So it's quite a lot of companies are now producing the dies to go with the stamp sets. So it's like this is kind of like the similar effect, but just by hand. So, and the dies kind of cut out a halo around the image. Like that. So you'd have it like that instead. Coloured in though. So you lose a little bit of the fun with the balloon, but it's a lot quicker and easier to cut out if you want to do it like that. Put him back over there. Right, I'm just going to tidy up these bits. It all goes into the paper recycling. Right, so now we've got some inking to do. So we don't need to do the bees. We want to ink. I have actually, I think I value up on the instructions. So I think it's optional, but you can add the ink to the balloon as well. And I like trying to do it with like one side of the balloon so that you get like that, like the light catching it. But we are definitely going to do the flower, the background, the happy birthday, the mount, the centre, and all the hexagons. So I'm going to leave the balloon this time. So, right. Just going to move the bits away that we're not going to use to make sure I don't get anything inky. So this is where you need your sort of not reflective, smooth surface that you can get ink on, that's or non-absorbent surface, shall we say. And use your ink pad and then your sponge dabber. So you'll get a nice clean fresh one in your kits. I'm not going to spoil a new one. I'm going to use my stash. I keep all mine in here. And I'm going to pick out the nearest colour. I should probably have them all labelled to the right inks, but not that organised. Right. So these are really handy. They fit on your index finger, yep. And we can build up. So it's just small, but it's great for edging. And you can build it up in just little circles. So I'm going to dab. It's a bit like having a paint palette. You can, let's see if you can see on that video. I'm not sure if you can. Make it a bit darker. Oh, actually, the screen that I can see is about 20 seconds behind. Right, let me leave it there and see if I can see that. Yes, so you can see that. So you're sort of building up, and that won't dry. So you can use that to build up. So I'm going to start with the hexagons because we've got lots of them. It's quite forgiving. So we're going to start in little circles, and we're always going to start off of the card and drag the sponge onto it. Because if we start onto it, you get that the pattern of the sponge comes out. Where if you're just dragging it, you just get that smooth thing. So don't dab too hard. You don't want too much ink. You can always build it up if it's not dark enough. But especially if you're using it from the kits, if you've got a brand new ink pad, it'd be very, very juicy. So you won't need to dab it, probably not as much as I do, because this ink pads, I've used it for a couple of years now, I think. So, and there we go. So we got create that effect. It's I really lovely on the yellow card because the centre of the hexagon just stays so bright, and you build up the orange edges. So I'll keep eyeing up with these. So you kind of get into the rhythm of it, especially if you're going to sit and do all 24 at the same time from the whole kit. So add little bits. And once you've mastered this technique, you'll find I've got a large array of different kit designs with different colour inks, so you can collect them all and then build up a lovely ink collection for. So obviously you've got ink to do the project for those 4 cards, but it will last you a lot longer than just those. So you can add it to other projects, or you can use it to actually stamp the images. And don't worry if it's not that even, if you've got one's darker than the other, like it's just like a natural variation in it. It's quite nice for this honeycomb. There we go, one more left. Okay, and then let's do the mount next, because it's on the yellow card. It kind of we're used to that effect. So we're going to same effect, but we're just going to drag, probably not as far onto the card this time, but little circles all the way along the edge, then rotate it. Keep that rotation all the way along the edge. And then you do get little bits coming off of these sponges, but they don't. The ink dries quickly, but they don't mark the cardstock at all. But just brush them away. Right, now I'm going to try and get a little bit less ink on this one because now we're going from the yellow to the white. It's quite a contrast, so it will take the ink a lot quicker. So just build it up nice and slowly. If you've got a scrap bit to use, you can always practice on that first. But this is like a lot more visible this time, if that makes sense. It feels like the yellow ones are sort of atmospheric, whereas this one's actually part of the design. So little circles give you that, and then we just missed the flower centre. I mean, you can't do much with the flower centre, but it is just nice to tie it in. Otherwise, the yellow stands out as being different to the rest. So just drag a little bit onto that. Excellent. And then we'll do the background. So similar. You can go a bit more further onto it this time because you're in control of what this looks like. I've actually I think my original one was really quite pale. The ones I've made since then I've actually been put a lot more ink on, so it's personal preference. And so if you've got the beginner's kit, these are already inked for you, so you'll see what my personal preference was the day that I made yours, because they're all the beginners kits are made by hand by me, and they go through a very stringent QC process. I don't let anything go that I'm not 100% happy with. So you can just build up. You can come back and go over the corners a bit more to kind of like give that kind of circular effect, like you're looking in on the scene. And again, just be aware of always starting off the card and dragging onto. This is where it gets to it. It takes a while to build up. It can get really tempting to just go and go straight onto it with new ink, but that will leave a sponge shape on it. So again, I'm just going to go over the corners. So you could, if you wanted to, once you've got it all nice and soft on there, you could go over the honeycomb patches as well. I might try that in another project. Flower. Okay, I left the flower to last because we do the flower slightly differently. Because if you're dragging it across, you really would attack the sponge to drag it on. So we're actually going to do it the opposite way and lightly pat out. And because it's the orange on the purple, orange on the pink, it has it's a subtle effect. It definitely shows up. It makes it like a really tropical, exotic flower. However, you can't see the marks that you're making when you do it, so you can be a bit more forgiving about how you're adding the ink. There we go, so I'm sort of keeping the centre still pink, so I've sort of gone from halfway along the petals outwards on there. Right, so that's all the inking done. So the next important step is to clean. To clean this thing. It's also, I mean, I can just about see the orange on there, but when you're working with the yellow, if you've got the craft kit, it can be really difficult to see the ink, and it stays wet, so it will transfer onto your card blank. So I've got biodegradable wet wipes, and I keep one wet wipe going. So I've got an old sandwich bag, and I keep it sealed in that so that I can use it for a good couple of weeks before, normally because it gets too dirty, without stamping I'm doing. But if you've got to use a damp cloth that you don't mind getting dirty because it is a permanent ink so it won't wash it off, then you can do that as well. Just going to let that dry a little bit before I stick it on there. And where are we? Right. This is always I've got them zoomed in so I can't even work on else. But it is dry now. So I'm going to move these back across. Just take a sip of water. So, need our pink card. Right, so now we are at the beginner's stage. Just do a little quick sense check of that. But yes, I think we are. So all the pieces are, in the beginner's kit, all the pieces are prepped, cut out and ready to assemble into the card. This card has quite a lot of assembly and quite a lot of options to do your own thing as well. You don't have to follow the design I've done. So it's quite fun. I think you can make 4 quite different cards from the beginner's kit. So I'd love to see what you make. So if you do change it up and make something slightly different, please do get in touch with me. You can either add it onto my social media, just tag me on Instagram at Della by Design, or on Facebook it's at Della by Design as well. Wonderful. So let's start off by gluing the background onto the pink card. Push these out of the way a bit. Make sure you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just using this is what I call a glue mouse, so it just dispenses double-sided tape. So it's a really convenient, quick way of gluing. You can use a Pritt stick, or if you've got, or double-sided tape, or if you want to use like a PVA or wet glue, craft glue. I'd say you can use it, just be a bit quite sparing with it because you don't want to get the card too wet. So you should find a nice even border on each side of the square. And then we'll do the same with the mount as well. I'm just going to, because I think there's quite a few different orders we can do with this card, so I'll make sure we're going to go the same order. And again, you'll get a nice even border. Yay. And then, right, let's stick this onto the card blank. It's going to form our basis. So you've got the logo on the back, and I've been trying to remember. I've there it is kind of random where I've stamped the honeycomb. You just want to make sure that you're not going to stick it in a way that everything gets covered up and you can't see them. So I'd like still like them to be visible. I think I'm going to go with that way. So I think from memory, I think I designed these cards, and then once I'd made it, I thought, oh, it'd be better if there was another one there, and that was further down, and that was there. So I then changed the positioning of where I stamped the next ones. But yeah, you can do as you wish. I'm going to go that way around, so I'm going to flip it over this way. Just glue this onto the card. And I'm just going to add a little bit of wet glue onto this one as well, just to make it double the glue, make it a little bit stronger, especially it's going to be on the actual card blank. So if you've got like a card with lots of embellishments on, like pay attention to what join, what glue is sort of taking the weight of the bits. So there we have it. So again, a nice even border on each side. And let's glue. So I'm going to glue the flower centre onto the flower. I'm going to keep it. You could put it on a foam pad if you wish, but I'm going to put the whole flower on a foam pad. I'm going to stick this one flat on there, and I'm going to add the glue to the flower. So I recommend whenever you're, especially doing fiddly little bits of gluing, if you know where you're going to be gluing the item onto, like as in it's clearly defined, then add the glue to the base rather than you're left trying to hold a tiny flower centre that's got covered in glue and you're trying to delicately place it on, and it's very easy to drop it and miss the mark and then get glue everywhere. But this way you can place it on top. And this is, so for wet glue, this is what I recommend. It's glossy accents. It's not actually a glue, but it works very well. So it's actually for sort of adding decorations clear, and it dries clear. Sorry, my voice is going. But yeah, it works very well as a glue, and it takes a little while to dry, which is great because it gives you can move things around if you haven't got them quite right. But it also means that you need to wait a little while, which is what I'm stalling for time, you see. So I think that's dried off enough now, because when it's first put on, it's so runny that the pressure of putting something on top would just make it seep out on the sides. But now that's cured a little bit, so I can just press that down gently. And you can see it's still moving. It will take another 30 seconds to dry completely. I'll just take a little bit of water. So if you've got any questions, do let me know in the chat box. I'm happy to answer any questions about what supplies I'm using or what other kits. Absolutely fine. So our next step, we're going to add foam pads to a back. So what I love about this card, let me show you on here, is that it's the 3D element that really brings it to life, because every hexagon is raised up, so you get that lovely shadow coming through and that kind of little 3D pattern where it's going through. So we're going to add some foam pads to pretty much the back of everything. Yep. Both bees, the flower, the balloon, and all the hexagons. Oh, sorry, just knocked the tripod. So in your kit you'll have a sheet of foam pads. I've been using these all week, but you'll have plenty in there to use for these. They come in little squares, which actually is ideal for this. So you can add a square to the back of each hexagon. So peel it off the sheet and they're sticky on one side, and then they've got another sheet on here, but we're going to leave that on for now, so keep them non-sticky, because then we can play around with their placements. Actually, let me just turn these around the other way so we can keep track of what ones I've done. So add foam pads to the back of 4 of them. There's a good chance that the top and bottom ones are going to go over the edge of the card, so we want to be careful about how we place the back of the foam pads on that. So I'm going to leave those 2 until we're ready to glue them down. And then the flower, I'm going to add a couple onto the flower, maybe even 3 if I can. There you go, 3 onto there, and then the back of the greeting. So I've got these. Ooh, I seem to have got a dud bit of. These haven't been cut all the way through, so I'm going to use that to my advantage and stick all of them on there. But you don't need to have. You could have 4 spread out on there. Right, so now for the bees and the balloon, these are too big. to stick on the back. So what we're going to do is going to cut them and make them smaller. And the best way to cut them is when they're still attached to the backing sheet, because then it stops too much glue getting on your scissors. I've actually got one here from yesterday, so I'm just going to cut them in half. And then, so I think that's fine for the big bee and the balloon. Put it that way. But I think for the little bee we need to cut it a little bit smaller. So I'm going to go in and make another cut to make it into like the smaller square. There we go. So all of those have got the backing still on, so we can still play with them without them committing fully to the card. So what I want to do is arrange everything on the card first and then start sticking them. So you are welcome to copy my layout suggestion, or you can have a play with your own designs as well. So let's start by, and something that I've been doing with these, so if you notice on the hexagons, let's put that way up, the hexagons have got little lines on them, and it's 3 of the sides and 3 of the sides haven't, and I've been matching up the lines with non-lines when I'm creating the hexagon pattern, the honeycomb pattern, like that, which is quite fun. So I'm going to experiment with how it is, wherever you want, whether you've got bits, if you've got any bits of the inking that you didn't like, that you went a bit wrong, that you want to cover up, then start with that and then work out the pattern from there. It's always a good way. Card. Ooh, I like that. Should we go that way? So that is actually a different pattern. So it feels like I've done the same thing, but it is actually a different pattern to this. It's also to do like the slight angle makes a big difference when you're building up the honeycomb. Like that. And then just to, I mean, obviously these are going to change, but just to get a feel for the positioning, you can add them all on. Make sure you're happy you've got enough space for the balloon. You see, where's the balloon going to go? Remember, you've got to have a straight line between the bee and the balloon. So I might just want to move these back slightly. Yes, like that. Excellent. So what I'm going to do is, because this one is so far along, I'm going to put a foam pad on the back of that one, because that's fine. This bottom one's a bit more iffy. So don't worry about trimming off the top and bottom. We're going to stick everything down and then do that, because it's very difficult to get it accurate. Where should we start? We do need to do our line. So, as I said earlier, we need a pencil, a ruler, and a pen. Actually, you don't. It's where I get very non-committal. You don't actually need a pencil, or you could do it with a pen, but it's fine. So, where you've got the balloon and the bee, you want to draw a straight line between the two. With the balloon, what you need to do is just move the balloon out of the way and just mark roughly where that line is going to end. So it's supposed to be on there. And then for the bee, imagine the cartoon bee where he'd be holding the end of his balloon. I've gone for the sort of join between the wings and the body. So you can place it on there and then take everything off. So if you want, if you've copied me word for word, you can take a photo of that if you're you don't think you'll be able to recreate it. So you can take a photo and you can reposition it all. So now we've got those off. What I'm going to do is draw with a ruler between those 2 points and just draw a nice strong black line with and a pen. There we go. But both ends of it, don't worry if it's a bit messy because we're going to cover those up with the 2 bits there. Wonderful. So now you can lay everything back on. I've ended up in that pattern now. Rotate it slightly that way. Might come this way this time. So yeah, slightly different pattern, and then we can start peeling off the backing. So it's quite handy with nails just to clip underneath, or if you've got a pokey tool or some craft knife or something to help get the ends off. So I'm going to line up the balloon so I'm not trying to sort of match the end of the balloon with the end of the line. I'm actually going to cover it. Just want to make sure that the balloon is in the same angle so that it looks like it's being pulled. Oh, this is a slightly longer session than all. My voice is going. And then I find with the bee, I'm just going to angle him down slightly so that it looks like he's pulling the balloon and he's going to the flower. And then the flower, I'm kind of looking for a little edge. Oops. There you go, I haven't pushed it down yet. A little white edge. So you've got that shine through. That gives a lovely, I suppose with the 3D it's like the shadows on it as well. It's lovely texture. I should probably have finished with this little guy, shouldn't I? But let's put him on. He was a late addition to this card. The original design didn't have him on, and then I think I asked a few Facebook groups and said, oh, I should add another bee. And I was like, I do have another bee stamp that would be perfect. But he is fiddly to cut. So I'm going to start with this one. So if your top one or bottom one is hanging off quite a lot, I would start with one of the middle ones. But whichever one you start with, just build up the honeycomb with adjacent ones. Don't try and do ones at either end and then join up because it won't line up. So basically forget what pattern you had because you're going to stick these down based on where you stuck the last one down. So you want to aim for the hexagons to line up with a little gap in between. And I'm going for the dashes and non-dashes together. It's like the opposites attract type. Perfect. And then this one here. So I will be able to fit a whole foam pad onto there. If you are further down, you might need to cut one and have it in half, depending on what angle you've made your honeycomb. So I'm just going to make, so I'm doing it off camera, aren't I? I'm just going to make sure that is at one end, like that, and then I can peel off, add that on. So if it does go over, the only downside to that is that your scissors will get sticky when we cut them off, but it's perfectly fine if you've gone on. But where I've put them up either end, they're not sticky underneath. Sorry, I'll show you that on there. So the camera's lower down today. Right, now to trim off the ends, I'm going to use my sharp scissors, and I'm going to use the card blank as a guide on the scissors to then cut that in a nice straight line. And the same for the top. There we go. If it's old school illusion, it feels like that drawing's up, but it doesn't. I've cut off that line. And there we have it. That is our finished honeycomb bee party. So yes, do let me know how you've made your card, how you've arranged your hexagons. You could have had them coming over on the corner, or even around the back of the flower. There's lots of different options you could have done for this design. Do let me know in the comments how you get on, or any questions, feel free to ask. And yes, if you want to send any of your finished designs to me, whether you've used these stamps with your own cardstock or your own set of stamps and craft supplies, I'm happy for you to be inspired by this layout and make your own creations. I'd love to see them. So you can email them to me at Della, which is DELLA, at dellabydesign.co.uk, or you can find me on Instagram or Facebook, just at Della by Design. Wonderful, thank you so much. I'll join you for our next tutorial. See you soon. Bye bye.